Dr. Bowden, is the madness ever going to stop for you? I mean, do you ever think like you're kind of like a boat out at sea going through the storms, and when you see it all clear and like you think it's over, and all of a sudden it just picks up again.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. Yeah, it just the drama never seems to end, does it? I just simply want these COVID shots pulled off the market. That's really all I want. And then I'm going to go back to being a mom and being hopefully as normal life as possible. But 25,000 children a day are getting these COVID shots. 13% of American children have gotten the newest version of the COVID shot. They're not even fully licensed for kids under 12. And the guy that we got into office that really, Robert Kennedy, what has happened to him, right? What has happened? Why is no one addressing this huge issue?
Yeah, I don't think you're asking for much here.
Mm-mm. That's all I want. I mean, I continue to see injured patients. I mean, last week, I think on Thursday, I saw 4 new patients whose lives have been completely destroyed by these shots. No one, the other doctors are pretending nothing's wrong or not, they're baffled. And I'm doing the best I can with these patients, but we don't have any government funding for studies. We don't have any sincere effort to help these injured patients. I've never seen anything like this with any other product on the market. I've never seen this as a physician with so many injured and people suffering from these shots. And it's just mind boggling to me. I mean, any other product would have been yanked off a long time ago.
You and I spoke in October, and at that point, I mean, the election obviously hadn't occurred, but we were speculating on all this, and if Trump were to get back in, and Robert Kennedy at that point had aligned himself, had endorsed Trump for the election. And what were your expectations when he did get reelected and when Kennedy was confirmed?
Well, I thought bringing Kennedy in was symbolic that Trump had maybe reconsidered his stance on the COVID shots because Kennedy was so outspoken about the COVID shots. I mean, he filed a petition with Children's Health Defense basically 4 years ago. I think it was May or March of 2021, asking the FDA to revoke EUA status for these shots. He's written books against Fauci, against the shots, about vaccinations in general, but even more so the COVID shots. So, I don't know who to blame right now. There's all sorts of theories being swirled around. There's one theory that, Trump is making false promises to Kennedy, and that's why Kennedy's being quiet. There's another theory that Kennedy's being blackmailed, and that's why he's being quiet. There's all this, well, this is all strategic. They just have to get everybody confirmed and then they'll take the shots off the market. But it's just frustrating. I'm not a politician. I'm a doctor. And I can't play chess or politics when I'm seeing people every day in my office who are so sick. And then it's just continuing. And there's no reason to be giving people COVID shots right now. There's no disease out there. I can't remember the last time I saw a COVID patient. And the last one I did see, there was no concern that this person might end up in the hospital at all. So why are we allowing this to continue?
I can't believe people are still getting those things.
I know. No, they are. And I don't think people realize that. And when you look at the CDC has this all on their website, by the way, and there's a map on there. It shows which states, the uptake of the COVID shots by state. And it's all very politically divided. So it's all the people that, Kamala, the Kamala supporters are the ones that are still getting these shots. And a lot of people say, well, no one's forcing them. Well, children don't really have a choice, right? And their parents aren't getting informed consent. We know that, right? That's no one is saying, well, your child might die if you get this shot, because if they were, then people would not get the shots. But I know plenty, I've interviewed plenty of parents whose children died from these shots. The CDC has admitted to over 19,000 deaths from these shots. Open VAERS has 38,000 deaths on their website. And we know both of those are, hugely underreported. So, a conservative underreporting factor would be 30. So if you take that with the CDC's admitted deaths, we're looking at 600,000 deaths from these shots. I mean, I don't know if you saw my post on X this morning, but you can look at other circumstances where the FDA has pulled the shots, and it's been like, 5 deaths, 4 deaths, 3 deaths, and they pull the product. So it defies all logic.
What about the amount of cancers?
Well, if you look, so the NIH recently posted about cancer, celebrating cancer deaths are down. Well, they stopped their data at 2022. So, and why is that? Why is it so hard to get up-to-date cancer information? And I have a friend at MD Anderson who said she's never seen anything like this, that she's just seen these turbo cancers, these stage 4 cancers presenting in very young people. She is definitely noticing a concerning, obvious trend. So it's not too much to ask to get up-to-date information on cancer patients.
I don't know about you, but I'm so tired of hearing this 4D, 5D chess.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, people are being harmed. There's no time for chess. Time for chess is long gone when people are getting hurt. And I see it every day. People, I think, are upset with me because I'm not being a team player. And I just like to say, if you were in my shoes and you were seeing these patients coming into your office every day, you would understand why I continue to fight and continue to speak out as loudly as I am.
Well, it's this whole like bullying and the people, the masses trying to force you into going along with it. And this is just another example of it. And we just got to get him in. I've heard this. I've heard this movie right, over and over and over again. Just got to get him in. You can't do any. You can't. Get him in there, and then they'll make change.
Well, and the funny thing is, Trump took a wrecking ball to all these things his first 100 days, right? It's not like it's not possible that people are powerless to do anything. There's been plenty of time at this point. There's been plenty of other very decisive and bold action. So yeah, we can't make excuses for them. When people are harmed, we can't make excuses for them.
So you do this interview with Danny Jones. That was an amazing. I was a little bit jealous because I would have liked to have been the one to host that. I think I would have done. No, Danny was really good on it. I mean, was it as tense as it seemed watching it, sitting there in that conversation?
It was very, it was gratifying to finally talk to somebody face to face who doesn't agree with you and debate. That's what it felt like cathartic maybe is the right word, because that's the first time I've ever had that happen since the whole pandemic. And we're seemingly on the same side. It's just the fundamental difference is that he will not go on record to state that the COVID shots should be pulled off the market, despite the fact, he admitted on camera that he's not going to take any more shots. He's not going to give them to his kids. He doesn't want his dad to get the COVID shots, but he can't take that a step further and, state that these shots aren't good enough for anybody else either. So it was cathartic. Obviously it didn't do anything, but it was just good to have that dialogue.
Even before you started recording, you guys were sitting there for a few minutes, right? Talking, or was it mostly I'm fascinated by this because
No, I
like
didn't.
things are about to go down, or it seems like that way.
Yeah, I got there on, I was the last one to get there. And so I just put on the headphones and we started talking. There was discussion after the interview, but not before.
So I want to get to that. For people that don't know, I mean, listen to this conversation with Dr. Bowden, Dr. Jack Cruz, Callie Means on Danny Jones' podcast because they had to bleep out all. I mean, half of it was. And I remember watching it. I was like, I think I wrote this on X. I said, man, I remember as a little kid when you had an R-rated movie that got put to regular TV, and they would either have to mute it or they'd have some lousy voiceover with
Yeah.
a substitute
No,
word.
yeah, they had to bleep out vaccine. And then on the monograph, on the picture, they left me out on purpose because they thought it would get them banned off of YouTube.
This episode is brought to you by McIlvaney Financial Group. Their advisors bring a depth of knowledge and experience that allow them to serve their clientele with care, ensuring their financial needs are met now and in the future. Personally, I'm not saying cash is worthless, but you can see what's happening. It's worth less every year. Gold is the opposite. Click on the promo link in the show notes or go to www.mcilvaney.com/coffeeandamike. Do you think there's an Overton window on that now, though, that you're able to post? Well, your Tucker interviews on YouTube.
Yeah, I know. It's shocking. Yeah, it's definitely starting to shift. I've noticed I have all these nasty Google reviews on my business page that have been up there for 4 years, and they're they're starting to finally remove these reviews, which I've been fighting. I reported them immediately because these people have their full names, and I can prove they are not my patients, right? And um, so I've noticed that a little shift in that direction as well.
Yeah, I just put up a conversation with Stephanie Seneff, and before I hit the upload, I'm like, I wrote down the time in the minute. I'm like, let's see if this thing gets pulled, how long before it's yanked, and it's still up
Yeah.
there. It's been a couple of days,
Well,
so that's why I feel. I mean, maybe now, and I don't know why that it's shifting, that you're able to get away with it, but it seems to me that is not that there's an Overton window on it right now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it used to be, just blasphemy to say that vaccine mandates are wrong. That's what I got canceled for, not for saying that, vaccines are dangerous. I said vaccine mandates are wrong, and that's what got me canceled.
So what happened after that conversation? I mean, first of all, that podcast what was it, 3 hours? Was that
Hmm.
3 hours straight through?
Oh yeah, we didn't take any breaks.
What happened after? If you can share.
It was a little awkward because yeah, I kind of felt like it was two men really going at each other's throats, and I was trying to be as diplomatic as I could. And yeah, I mean, it was, I texted Callie afterwards and I thanked him. And because it was admirable that he came and showed up for the slaughter. Um, and, I guess the only thing that wasn't stated on camera, which, turned out to be interesting afterwards, is that he said he did not have any intention of joining the administration. And now he's a special government employee. So I understand things can change, but that was interesting.
What was your reaction when he told you that?
Well, yeah, sure. I we'll see. We'll see. And obviously, he wasn't right about he changed his tune.
Uh, so did he respond when you thanked him? Did he give you a response, or was it dead
I don't
silent?
think he did actually. I think he was pretty. I can't. I'll have to go and look. I don't know. Prior to that, we had talked on the phone a couple of times because I started sort of calling, taunting him on X about his position. And so we had a couple heated conversations on the phone, and Yeah, there's been very little communication since then.
I wondered why he would go on there with you guys, knowing, I mean, he had to known what he was walking into.
Yeah, I found it a little surprising too. Yeah, he's a very skilled PR guy, and he knows how to work around a difficult, awkward question. So I think he just thought, with his background and his training, he could win the argument.
The and the other thing was, why his sister wasn't there. I'm assuming she got an invite.
Yeah, I don't know if she got an invite or not. That's interesting. Yeah, there was, and at that time, I think we knew that she was a possible candidate for the Surgeon General. I mean, I think she just went quiet because she was being propped up for Surgeon General.
And so he goes on there to possibly protect her, or
Just be the front man,
yeah,
be the one that's doing the PR.
yeah. And his response is, you're right. I mean, he obviously is very skilled at being a lobbyist, and with the way he answered. But I feel like the general public. Well, I say this, but people that are like coming out of the woodwork to support all this right now, maybe the general public hasn't figured it out. I mean, I know people personally that are like, "Oh yes, it's happening, it's happening." I'm like, "Oh my God, really?" Like,
I know it feels like people are being fooled once again, right? That's how it feels to me. It's wait, hold on. I thought you were a critical thinker.
I thought we learned something from the last 5 years, and even one of my good friends, he's like, "Yeah, I'm reading her book. This was a couple of weeks ago." And I'm like, okay, and I'll share with you what I thought about some of this. Okay, it's easy to deflect it on the food. Yes, there's a problem in the food, right? There's no question there's a problem in the food. But people have to take accountability for what they eat. And, I'm sure I've shared this with you. I mean, I used to weigh 280 pounds in my previous life. And I didn't do no drugs, no. I recognized like something had to change. So now they deflected on cornflakes, which I know cornflakes are bad for me. I know they are, but I love cereal. I mean, I don't eat it anymore, but I love cereal. When I was a kid, it was fantastic. I know Cocoa Pebbles are bad for me, and M&Ms and Skittles and everything else. So they're going to push it on that. They're going to totally deflect from all the vaccines, and nothing's going to change. Kellogg's cereal is not going anywhere.
Right. Right. And, I've said repeatedly, I agree with their message. They don't agree with mine. So, and it's common sense. I don't know. When I interviewed with Tucker, I loved what he said, because he's like, I've never eaten a piece of pizza and, deluded myself that it was good for me. Like, it's just, we know, but most people intuitively know what's good and bad. I mean, I'm curious, what made you shift and lose weight? What was it? Was
Well,
it somebody like Casey Means telling you that you need to change your diet?
oh, I thought you were asking like sarcastically. No, I mean, it's been. I watched them and I was like, oh my God, I'm so inspired. It's the Skittles. I need to cut those out of my life, and everything will just go away. Sorry, but no, I mean, there's been a couple different instances, and it's gone up and down because I'm really good at eating. Like, some people can crochet and quilt. I'm very, very good at eating, and I didn't grow up. I mean, I had a terrible diet as a kid with fast food and frozen foods and whatnot, but. Two moments. One was I was working at a bank, and we had to wear ties every day. Well, we worked like far away from like the main office, so I never wore my tie. I came in the one morning and all these executives were there. We didn't know they were coming. I go, oh my God. I ran in the back. I had the biggest shirt you could buy, and I could barely fit into it. And I couldn't get the button. I couldn't close the button so that way I could put the tie around. So I just tied it and just went to my desk and just sat down and like looked down and was hoping nobody would talk to me because I looked like a mess. And it was like that was such a low moment where I was like, I cannot believe I allowed myself to get to this point. Like I know better. So that there
Right.
was that moment, and then I tore my quad 12 years ago, and I said because I'd gotten heavy, I was laying around and eating, and I said if I'm gonna I have to take weight off these knees, or else life is going to be very very difficult. And that was, and then really the push was carnivore. And I
Mhm.
credit Lynn. I mean, Lynn was the one that really got me to start that process. And I was doing more of a keto, but
Mhm.
I'd fall way off the wagon with sugar because I love cookies and bread and all that stuff. I feel you and I think I've talked about that. I mean, I'm like a degenerate when it comes to that stuff. And
Yeah.
but I went over when I switched over to carnivore. That like really really changed me. I mean, and you know that. I mean, I heard you on Tucker talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of people, it's like that. Something happens to you personally that wakes you up and makes you want to change course with your diet. But I don't know. I don't know if you saw the post that I put on X this morning about how lucrative this ending chronic disease effort initiative is. I mean, these people who the Maha leaders, the people that are, you know, casein calamines and the people surrounding them. I mean, millions in venture capital money, flooding, drowning in venture capital money for things like cold plunges and fancy beds and vitamins that probably won't hurt you, but do we know that they really will change your life? Um, so it's just the whole thing is a little suspicious.
Yeah, and I have to give credit to Laura Loomer on this too because she has been and she when she gets after something, she really does get after something. And you got to give her credit. You know, if she's on your side, I mean, that's who you want to go to war with. I don't know that I want to go against her in a war because she
Right.
doesn't stop until you're completely annihilated. But you know, I didn't realize the food babe, whatever I don't know her name, but the food babe on Twitter and Instagram, she was a supporter of Obama or something because
Oh yeah.
she was reporting about that. Laura put that in her X post. I'm butchering it, but I was like, wow, I didn't, because that girl I've seen all over the circuit, in and out of
Mm-hmm.
Turning Point, because Turning Point's based here in Phoenix, where I live, and this whole notion of like, you know, oh, the food people are getting it, food, and I didn't even know about the cold plunge. So there's people surrounded with cold plunge and what infrared and
Yeah, I mean things that are, I have nothing against them. I just um some of it is hype. A lot of it's probably hype. I mean, there's some valid um, scientific support for some of it. Some of it's questionable. But like Callie's company, TrueMed, I don't know if you know what that does, but they put a bunch of wellness products on their website, and then they finagle it so that people can use their pre-tax health savings accounts, HSA accounts to pay for them. And I mean, that's basically taking money from the rest of us so that you can buy a cold plunge system or a bed that I don't know if you've looked at these 8 sleep beds, but they're super expensive. They're about $4,000. They track your sleep. So you're sleeping on a wearable, one of these data tech gadgets. But they don't have any data showing that they improve insomnia or improve obstructive sleep apnea. Those are the two most common sleep disorders. Uh, but, the rest of us are subsidizing people buying these mattresses because of TrueMed. So it's kind of a racket. And health savings accounts, I'm a huge fan of because you can use pre-tax money to pay for your health expenses, but typically it's for going to the doctor or getting if you have to have surgery or if you have to take a medication or you need physical therapy or it's not for a fancy bed.
and how is Dr. Marty Macri? Is he a partner in this TrueMed payments or TrueMed?
So that seems to be a little bit muddy. I mean, it was definitely on. So they have this website called End Chronic Disease, and it's a coalition of all these people. And under his photo, it said co-founder of TrueMed. Now, somebody came to me this morning and said, well, we looked at the SEC filings and he's not on there. There's no way this is accurate. So I don't know. Maybe it was a mistake on the website. I would have thought Callie would have piped in if it, I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, Laura was writing about that. It might have been last night and saying it now had been scrubbed.
Right.
But nothing gets past her, man. I mean, they got loomered.
Yeah.
I've been following her for a few years now. She's been on here, and yeah, man, you don't want to get loomered. She doesn't give a shit. I mean, I was watching her and Callie go back and forth. Did you see that the
Oh, yeah.
exchange back and forth? I think were you in that too? Were you in that firefight?
I think I was tagged, but I didn't engage.
That was like two F-16s, like a just a real or an old fashioned Western firefight going on.
Yeah.
And the thing about her too, she's got the proof when she starts coming after you.
Right, right. Yeah, she's got the receipts.
Now, Casey means she dropped out of residency. She's a doctor. I mean, I mean, she went to medical school, graduated, but dropped out of residency.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way it works, you have 4 years in medical school and then you do a residency, and you're not really considered fully trained until you complete your residency. And for ENT, it's 5 years, and she dropped out apparently 6 months before that mark. So she's not really, I mean, yes, she could maintain her license and prescribe medications, but she couldn't get a job at a hospital, or she couldn't work as an ENT without finishing her training. So, you know, fine, but I think we could do better. We could find a surgeon general who is fully trained and has some clinical experience. And clinical experience helps you stay connected with what's going on. You keep your finger on the pulse by seeing patients and seeing what's going on. You get a sense, okay, well, this is what the pharmacies are doing. This is what the insurance companies are doing. This is what people are most worried about. So what I see is that people have absolutely no trust in other doctors and hospitals, even in basic medications. People are scared to take antibiotics. That's important information that you don't get by just reading articles. So I believe that the other thing is, I think most people really don't or didn't care who the Surgeon General is. It doesn't really seem like that critical of a role. But at this point in time, I think it is critical, because this is a messenger for the CDC, the FDA. This is the face of our public health system. And I don't know that the public health system deserves to be ever trusted, but if they want to be trusted, they need to have somebody who is very credible. Another thing is, it's not just the medical freedom people that are freaking out about Casey Means. It's all the establishment doctors too. So it's like most doctors, no matter where you stand on the COVID shots, see this as a little bit of a joke. And so, yeah, personally, I hope that 5 years from now, the Surgeon General pick becomes insignificant again. And I'd personally like to see the CDC, FDA just fade into the background and not be in our face all the time, because I think we're all a little bit traumatized from COVID over, how much messaging, how much propaganda. But I think that if we're going to turn the ship in the different direction, yeah, Casey Means is not the right person.
Do you think this system can be salvaged?
I think the most important thing they could do to salvage the system is to address the elephant in the room, to pull the shots off the market, step one, help the injured, step two, and then step three, hold people accountable. there is a who deserves the blame, because I talked to somebody who was a special government employee under Operation Warp Speed, a doctor, and his claim was that Pfizer really hid the data from the government. So why we could go after Pfizer, and there is a lawsuit against Pfizer now with Brooke Jackson, and she's been at this for 5 years now. She's a whistleblower. She was at the research trial site. She saw that Pfizer was not conducting the trial appropriately, and she blew the whistle and then got fired. And so her lawsuit, if it were allowed to go forward, that could be the answer. That could take the whole thing down, and you wouldn't have to deal with politicians and their egos. This is an easy thing, but the DOJ under Biden wouldn't allow the case to go forward, hoping that with the new administration, the new DOJ would allow it to go forward. But unfortunately, they submitted a recent motion to continue to block this lawsuit from going forward, saying it goes against public health. So that's frustrating, and trying to raise awareness about that, because if we could allow the lawsuit to go forward, that might be the answer to all of this.
Excuse me. What does your gut tell you in terms of, you said what the system can be done to be salvaged, but will it be?
Yeah. It's not looking good based on what's happened so far. But I think the public is getting angrier and angrier. I don't know if you've sensed that on X. I think people are starting to really get frustrated. So that's the people must continue to speak out. And I think there's so many people that were harmed by either the vaccine or the hospital protocols or mandates, or COVID directly impacted every single voter. And for them to sweep this under the rug is sort of a slap in the face to the people they were elected to represent.
Yeah, you're more optimistic than I am when it comes to this kind of stuff. I don't know. It was great to see Robert Kennedy get in there, but I just didn't have hope that any of this was going to change. And I see what the deflection to the food, and people, they just fall for it. And people that are Republicans, I guess, and are falling for this, and which leads me to believe if something were to happen again, I think people would just willingly lock down and comply.
Yeah, I kept thinking, okay, we just need another pandemic, and then people will really stand up. But I think you're right. Yeah, people are falling for this. People that were supposedly awake, yeah, falling for it. It's interesting.
My friend Matt Smith wrote this article. It's really good. I should send it to you. Where he was talking about COVID was stage 1. And it was to test the systems, and it was successful. 1, the public complied across the world. 2, the idea, COVID tracing. 3, you had to have the proof of the vaccine. So the whole rolling out of the digital passport. 4 was the testing of universal basic income, because they could deposit money right into your bank account. The idea that you had to comply with certain things, masks, whatnot, or else you'd never be able to get on an airplane. They tested all that, so that way the next time something were to occur, whether that be some type of economic collapse or another pandemic, all the instruments are in place.
Yeah. I'm not going to comply.
And and I wouldn't either. But they had said, and he also included in this article, like they don't need to send like stormtroopers to your door. They'll just make things completely uncomfortable for you, the way they did during COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
just it was a really interesting article, and he was talking
Yes.
about how that was stage one of the test. So then my next question to you is, why Casey Means? What is the significance of her and her brother being involved in this, and why do you think she was selected?
Yeah, I go back and forth with that. Is it as sinister as, it's a CIA plot, or is it just she's got a lot of money and she's got a lot of power and well connected? Um, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think we'll find out. I hope it's just she's got a lot of money and power and connections. Um, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it's weird to me how they just hit the scene and they get on Rogan and Tucker. He obviously, he comes from the trenches of DC, and she writes a book that just goes right to the bestseller, which I mean, I just find it. I mean, how does that happen? She was nowhere to
Right.
be found in 2020, 2021. I mean, I've known you guys for, what is it, 4 or 5 years now that we've known each other. I mean, we were at
Yeah.
Molly James's thing in St. Louis. I was with you there. I never heard of
Hmm.
those two. And that was summer of 22, I think, almost 3 years ago. Had you heard of them at that point?
No, and that's what first raised my suspicions is when they came on the scene, I looked back, okay, what was their stance during the pandemic? And they didn't there was nothing written or spoken about the vaccines. I mean, there was some light reference to metabolic disease and COVID, but nothing compared to what all of us have been screaming about for the last 5 years. Which, if you are a leader in healthcare and you're completely quiet on the biggest healthcare crisis of our lifetime, that speaks volumes.
And I wonder, and this is just literally the thought just entered in my head. I mean, did they even have Twitter back then? I mean, how long have they been actively using their accounts for?
Yeah, no, they did. I checked them.
Oh,
I think they scrubbed their accounts because there's just not anything. I think they must have scrubbed their accounts.
yeah, because he claimed that he was a never Trumper, which, I mean, that was on Rogan. And then I always pronounce it wrong. What was it? What's the hallucinogenic that they both were taking, that they both endorsed? I can't say it. Lysabit.
I know psychobillicin, the mushroom. Yeah, yeah, that's another thing. Fine, you do what you want to do in the privacy of your own home. Yeah, if it's not hurting anybody, I really don't care. But should you be Surgeon General if you're talking about doing that? I just don't think so. I think that's a deal breaker.
And it depends on the state you live in too. That I don't isn't I think certain states it's legal now. Maybe
I don't know.
I could
I
be.
mean, I did a cursory search and found that it was illegal based on, they do a schedule of class, drug class schedule basically, and what's legal and not. And it looked to me like it was not legal, but I mean, I could be wrong. It's just not a good look. I'm sorry.
No,
Tripping on mushrooms as a surgeon general.
but it's going to give you enlightenment, doctor. It's going to give you awakening. And how
Right.
you don't you want a surgeon general with clarity and having enlightenment and awakening?
I'm sorry, but I want somebody who is a good role model and who I wouldn't be embarrassed to, show my kids their credentials.
And I think where I'm wrong on that is I think some of them I think so. I think the microdosing on mushrooms, it's not legal, but maybe it's a misdemeanor in certain states. It's not as harsh of a penalty. And I could be wrong on all that, but I feel like that sounds more right to me than.
Yeah, it's fine. If you want to do that, fine. If there may be, yeah, validity, there may be people that really benefit from it, fine. But like I said, Surgeon General material, we can do better.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's been public that she's pregnant, and first of all, I haven't even heard her. Has she commented on anything, or she probably won't until she goes through the confirmation hearings? I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see if if she follows CDC recommendations and gets all three of those COVID shots for her baby.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about when I had Stephanie Seneff on here, and I what the schedule is today versus what even when I was a kid. I mean, I'll be 47 at the end of the month, and That's not slowing down. And they have no, in my opinion, they have no intention of stopping any of that.
Yeah, and I haven't. I think it has to be the explanation for autism. I don't see any other explanation. Um, but I'm not, on an individual. Yeah, I haven't seen the people with these immediate, and there are people that have had immediate severe side effects. I don't want to discount them, but the carnage from these COVID shots is it's just not subtle. It's very dramatic. It's just shocking to me that it's still going on.
Is it getting, where's the level of, is it getting worse? Is it the same of the people that
Well,
you're seeing?
I mean, part of it is people are learning about me because of like when I was on Tucker Carlson. So it's just amazing to me, that, 4 years after these shots have rolled out, I'm still seeing patients that no one is taking care of, no one can help, whose lives are being completely destroyed.
You since I've met you, you were on Tucker. I mean, what was it like going on there?
He's very nice. He's exactly off camera. He's exactly like he is on camera, and he's very forthright and very genuine. Yeah, it was a great experience.
You're a pure example of somebody where that you think life is a straight line. Life for you is definitely not a straight line. I mean, when you look at, you know, when you got into medicine to where you are now, do you ever step back and like just look at all this?
Yeah, so I took 7 years off to raise my kids, or partially raise them, and I almost didn't go back into medicine. I went back 6 months before the pandemic, and saw somebody Friday who, I guess I had a conversation with her while our kids were doing a swim lesson, saying, I might go into medicine. And I joked, go back into medicine. And I joked with her, I'm like, why didn't you stop me? What? It's just been crazy. It's not what I expected whatsoever.
In hindsight, would you have done anything differently? Would you, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, it's been very enlightening. I've learned so much. It's been super stressful, but it's been very meaningful, and I feel like I've just grown so much. So I hope it will be over soon. Though I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready to relax.
You got enlightenment. You didn't even have to microdose for that.
Exactly.
what? I'm surprised. What I mean, why didn't you get consideration for the Surgeon General?
Yeah, well, first, I don't want it, but second, like if you Google my name, it's very obvious I would never make it through. I mean, the first thing that comes up is medical board, da 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 da. So it's I was never under any impression that I would be under consideration.
And I saw something too where Dr. Kelly Victory was the one that Bobby Kennedy wanted.
Yeah, and she would be excellent. I mean, I was with her last weekend at a conference, and she's known him for 30 years. And she'd been under consideration 3 times since Kennedy came in as Surgeon General. And she was joking. She's like, "Well, he called me the third time." I said, "This better be it, because I'm tired of being pulled around." And she'd been through the interviews, and he told her, "Yeah, you're going to be it, because Jeanette Neshawat's out." And so we were all celebrating, like, "Oh, great! Finally, somebody that checks all the boxes is going to be put in position." And unfortunately, that apparently he lied to her.
And that's where the question comes into play of, was he told who he had to select, or did he just have a change? I mean, I know he's been on the media circuit defending Casey Means, that she was a good pick. Trump was asked that, I saw, and he said it was up to Bobby.
I know, that's they pointing fingers at each other. Who, and then Kennedy got back on and said, something to the fact that it was Trump's pick. So who knows? I mean, there are all sorts of theories swirling around what's going on behind the scenes.
And
We
this,
need a whistleblower. We need somebody from inside to tell us what's going on. But, Kennedy lied to Shanahan. Kennedy told Nicole Shanahan, that the means weren't going to be involved. And then he lied to Kelly Victory. So that doesn't look good.
and then what about, what's Susie Wiles' role, if anything, in all this? She's the ice
Yeah, but,
maiden.
Kennedy has the power. And what does he have to lose? I mean, if he came out and did the right thing and pulled these shots, and Trump fired him, there'd be a total. The people would freak. The people that, I mean, the people that supported Kennedy really helped Trump get elected. So I don't know. I just feel like, what does Kennedy have to lose by being brave and by holding up his end of the deal? I mean, that was, it. He has the power to do it,
Yeah,
and we know Trump. We know Trump's not going to do it.
well, and everybody is given that opportunity. You have you have a moment in time or in history where you can stand up, and he was such an advocate for it during writing his books, and now here you are on the plank, and you're walking away from it. It seems.
Yeah, yeah, I know. This could be his moment in history.
And
I don't know. There's another theory that, they just need to finish the confirmations and then they'll take action. And if that happens, I will be the first to, I'll apologize and say, oh, I was wrong. I hope that's the case. But this other thing, I don't know why they think, does Cassidy really have this much power that he can control Trump and Kennedy? He has that much power? Or am I being naive in questioning that?
no, I don't think you're naive at all. I mean, I think, I mean, I'm oversimplifying here, but I think that big farm, they're billion-dollar industries. They're not going away. You're not taking them down.
Yeah, but what? I guess they can't pull Trump out of office. I mean, Trump's there. What are they going to do to Trump? What is big pharma going to do to Trump? What is big pharma going to do to Kennedy? What do they have hanging over them that makes them powerless to pull the shots off the market? I mean, they don't need money. They're in office.
Right. I mean, imagine though. I mean, this country has become so dependent on big pharma for so many things. Look, I'm with you. I hope I'm wrong about all this. I've been saying that since November, but I mean, everything I'm seeing, it's given me no indication. I mean, no one's going to arrest Fauci. I moved on from that a while ago. I never thought they would do it. I heard about that. That was another one of those things, like the 4D chess. When the Republicans took back the House, I remember reading an article. I don't remember what was the name of it, but Fauci's going to have a permanent spot in D.C. when the Republicans get back in. Well, that never happened.
Yeah.
And I want, I don't want to be like this, but it's like I've seen this movie I don't know how many times, and now this is just another divider here, to where I mean I don't understand. I mean, I see Steve Kirsch, he like flipped last night, and all of a sudden he's in support, and he gave an explanation, but I didn't really understand what the explanation was of why he's changed.
I didn't see the explanation. Maybe I missed that.
Unless I misinterpreted it, I didn't understand it, and I don't have it up here. But because wasn't initially he was not in favor of it, and then he's
Well, he probably got a call from somebody, right? And I'm sure there's a call. There was a call involved, and maybe promises made, but we'll see. We'll find out very, very soon enough.
so now. What is your focus as we move forward into 25? We're halfway through, almost
Well,
halfway through.
on a positive note, there are a lot of states that are making ivermectin over the counter. and that seems to be gaining momentum. So that gives me, that's one real big positive. And yeah, that again, I think ivermectin should be over the counter. I'm still having problems with my patients getting access to it. And COVID shot should be pulled off the market. And once those two things are done, then I'm going to disappear and relax.
Could you step
I
away
hope.
from this?
I mean, I definitely would like a nice break.
Yeah. And what states is ivermectin over the counter? How many? Do you know how many states you are able to?
Well, so Tennessee made it over the counter in 2022. And then this year, Idaho and Arkansas. And I got to look at my list, but I think there's 17 states that have bills under consideration to make it over the counter. North Carolina, it just passed out of the Senate. The House, I think, one of the House, either the Senate or House, and it's being voted on by the other chamber. Texas has a bill. Maine, um, I don't know. Who doesn't have a bill, which is shocking, is Florida, which is weird.
I'm actually going to Tennessee next month, so I can go buy a bunch of it when I'm there.
Yeah, but apparently Walgreens, CVS don't carry it. You have to go to a compounding pharmacy.
Oh, so still like the big commercial ones.
Yeah.
They still have COVID. They have a COVID flu shot all in one outside of a CVS that I walked by the other day in Phoenix.
Yeah. And it's probably mRNA. There are 500 mRNA products in the pipeline. Most of those are vaccines.
Yeah, Big Pharma was never worried about this administration, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's like, what do we do as individuals now, right? And I mean, I think you've shared. I mean, what are you doing as an individual? I mean, obviously you're treating patients, and what do you suggest to people that Trump is not going to save them? Which I said, I
Well,
said,
there are three branches, right? There's executive branch, was clearly is not really going to do anything. There's a judicial branch, so suing, and that's one option, suing using the legal system, and then the legislative branch. So that's probably where people can make the most impact. There was the bill in Arkansas where ivermectin was made out of over the counter. That was initiated by a citizen who, sorry about
it's
my
okay,
dog,
it's okay.
Chloe, a citizen that a citizen, Chloe.
Dog's all fired
Uh,
up. Oh no, I was talking about when I asked you about what can people do and how people need to be responsible for their individual health and taking care of themselves and holding themselves accountable by their eating, what they do from a workout standpoint. I hate the word exercise. It makes me feel old when I say exercise. That's like what old people do. But people need to be less reliant on the healthcare system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't look to the government to save you.
You still doing carnivore, by the way?
No, yeah, I limit my carbs, but I was losing too much weight. I was having to buy new clothes, and so I'm taking a break, but I do, I watch my carbs. I'm not pure carnivore.
I'm like, so I was on it and then I fell off it. October, I went back to Ohio and I just got incredibly weak. Like my mom made pumpkin bread and you know how October is just such a
Yeah. Yeah.
pumpkin, I don't know, breads. And then I came back to Arizona and I was eating chocolate like every day and
Yeah. Yeah.
cookies and just completely fell off the wagon. So I went back on carnivore in January. Um, I'm like nervous though to like have a cookie or have ice cream or any of that.
Well, did your weight go up when you went off of it?
Well, I did because I got injured, so I couldn't run like I normally
Mhm.
would. So it was just a combination of not being able to like work out the way I normally would and eating that stuff. But you could see the definition when you stay away from carbs. Like your body just changes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But bread is just so good. So what? So real quick, like what are you indulging when you have something?
Well, I usually start the day well. I have my 2 to 3 eggs for breakfast. And then for lunch, I usually have leftover steak or whatever leftover from dinner. And then, but it's usually like at night. So I may have a little dessert, a little ice cream, or something like that.
See, here's the difference between you and I, though. When you say a little bit of ice cream, what is it? Like a bowl, a scoop?
Yeah, a scoop or two.
I'd eat the whole. If it was a pint, I would eat the whole pint in maybe 2 days, maybe the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I try to just watch it, but not completely.
Hmm. Do you?
I feel like carnivore is really good for burning the fat, but once you've burned the fat, maybe you don't need to. You can just maintain your weight by a healthy diet.
Do you notice though when you went on carnivore and then when you came off of it, like the stuff you were eating before carnivore, like there's just certain things you just don't have a desire any longer?
Alcohol. I mean, I it's weird. I don't like wine anymore. I mean, I'll drink a little bit. I like skinny margaritas, or I'll have champagne. But it's weird. I don't have any alcohol desire like I used to do.
Yeah, that was like that for me was potato chips because I loved. I mean, I love sweet and salty, but like potato chips or snacky nuts, trail mix, and really alcohol too. I mean, I was a beer guy, but since I mean I haven't had a beer in almost 2 years, and potato chips or even pizza or any of that I haven't. It's been a couple of years, and I had fallen
Yeah,
off the wagon at the end of last year and didn't go back to that.
yeah,
If I could just kill the cookie stuff, then I would be in this pinnacle. Not
yeah,
having any distractions any longer.
yeah. One thing I used to eat when I was really suffering from sugar cravings is the sugar-free Jello, not pudding, which is probably so bad for
I
you,
love those.
but that would satisfy me.
One cup wasn't enough though. I mean, it was like a 4 pack or a 6 pack, and I mean, I would go right through those.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah, yeah.
degenerate though when it comes to that kind. I mean, I was told it's better to have 0% than 10% of something because I don't know what 10% is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you have to be hardcore with carnivore if you're really going to do it.
I mean, you know it too. If you commit to it, and I feel like you have to give it more than a month. I think two
Oh
months is a
yeah.
really good assessment of where you're at.
Yeah. I had sugar withdrawal for a month, I think.
I did too. I'd be out on my run in the mornings early, and I was like, oh man, I want one of those cookies from that bakery. And luckily, it's not open. And then in the late afternoon is when to me, the cravings would get really bad. But yet, the bakeries that I would go to would close at 2, and they'd close midday. So by the time I'd really have the craving, they were, I couldn't get it. But I just think that like the first month, your body's just going through a transition because like your stomach, everything's adjusting to something that you've never done before.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
Pretty active on X at MD Breathe, and I also have a Substack called Day 8, also under MD Breathe.
Website for people that might want to seek some type of consultation with you?
Well, I'm not taking new patients, but if you want to go help us politically, you can go to americansforhealthfreedom.org, and you can use it has a pledge on there where politicians can sign saying that they want the COVID shots pulled off the market. So you could share that with the people you elected.
Well, I know you're not taking new patients, but if I'm like on the brink of my death or something, you help me out a little bit, right? Not gonna,
I could steer you in the right
not
direction.
gonna leave
Yes.
me not gonna leave me out there.
No.
Dr. Bone, as always, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for everything you're doing, and I look forward to continuing to follow your work and more conversations ahead.
Thanks, Michael.
Mic drop.